you today?
Uh-oh.
Okay, so you're a real estate agent. You sign a contract with an owner of a property to do a lease purchase. As an agent, you find a tenant, and without your knowledge, the owner gives the keys to the tenant buyer, and he moves in without paying option consideration. What do you do next? Who owes you money? And you have a contract with the seller, but you have not done a contract yet with the tenant buyer or anything else. How do you get paid?
Well, you're going to have to prevail upon the seller. I mean, they're the obligor. From my perspective, they're the obligors in the deal. They're the ones that execute a contract. The tenant buyer didn't do it.
Now, the tenant buyer moved in the property. He's been in there 30 days and still has not paid the promised option consideration, $5,000, something like that.
Well, if the seller's an honorable person, which is a big if, he owes the $5,000. Let him collect it from the seller or the tenant buyer.
Exactly. This really happened today. And George, in all fairness, I think I explained it better to John than I did to you.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, this is a conversation I just had about 20 minutes ago with a guy who's a realtor. And he's in Virginia, by the way. And this is exactly what happened. And he's wondering, he's saying, Claude, do I go after the tenant buyer in the property? What do I do? What do I do? And I said, you performed, regardless that the owner gave the keys to this guy before he paid anybody. That was the owner's stupidity. You know,
right.
who lets a tenant in the property before they get paid in any situation?
Right.
I think the realtor, I mean, his only possibility is he's not going to get any money from the tenant buyer, or at least the tenant. His only recourse is to the seller. He wants to push it. I mean, that's all he could do, I think.
Oh yeah.
And my guess would be that if he says something to the seller's probably going to tell him to go pound sand, and he's going to have to wind up suing him.
Yeah.
To get it.
What do you think I told the realtor to do? He hasn't done anything yet. He just found out that
probably sent a demand letter.
Yeah.
First thing.
Yeah, I told him to send an invoice to the owner.
Right.
I don't. Him and the owner are on still good terms, but the owner is he either did a deal behind his back or he's very naive.
Right.
Which is what the agent told me. He said a nice guy but very naive. He gave the keys to the guy before the deal was consummated.
Well, maybe in that case you sort of take the high road, and the letter's got to be structured. You might not be aware of blah blah blah, but there's blah 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 blah. You owe me $5,000 or whatever whatever the consideration is.
Yeah. So that's what my advice was. Let me give you another.
I don't think he has any standing with the tenant buyer. I mean, it's the contract is between the realtor and the seller, the owner of the property.
You're right. Thank you, Attorney Andrus. You're correct.
So I have a question for you.
Attorney
How was it that the owner of the property knew the names of the tenant buyer? How did he get introduced to him?
The agent brought the guy to the house and introduced him, and I don't know the specifics, but somehow there was an introduction made or a phone call, and permission was given to show this guy the house, and somehow the owner and this proposed tenant buyer either knew each other or got together or exchanged phone numbers or met, and the guy, it was a real nice guy, the owner, and the tenant buyer might have been a real smooth talker. He gave him the keys to move in the property.